honor. And last night's debate was fun. It was different. It got wonderful. There were a lot of good feelings in that room, and I think it's something, frankly, that the Republican Party needed. And today is something very, very special because Dr. Ben Carson was respected by everybody. Everybody wanted his endorsement, and everybody loves him and truly, truly admires what he's done. His life has been an incredible life. It's been an awe-inspiring life. And I just want to tell you that having his support really, I think it adds just total credence to what I'm trying to do and to what we're all trying to do. So I just want to introduce Dr. Ben Carson, special, special person, special man. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Well, thank you, Donald. And you know, this whole process, getting involved in the political process was something that I never particularly intended to do. But, you know, I listened to the people, and it was really all about the people, and it continues to be all about the people. You know, it's not about the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. It's about the people of America. And what I have been seeing recently is political operatives and parties once again trying to assert themselves and trying to thwart the will of the people. I find that that is an extraordinarily dangerous place to be right now. And, you know, I want the voice of the people to be heard. I want the political process to play out in the way that it should play out. And, you know, I think the Republican Party particularly would be very wise not to adopt, let's stop this guy and let's promote this guy policy, but rather start thinking about what are the things that are going to be helpful for America. Right now, you know, we're in a process of going off the deep end. We're going off the cliff. We're fiscally irresponsible. We're hating each other. We're destroying ourselves. A house divided against itself cannot stand. We're failing to take a leadership position on the world stage. Now, some people have said, well, why would you get behind a man like Donald Trump? I'll tell you why. First of all, I've come to know Donald Trump over the last few years. He is actually a very intelligent man who cares deeply about America. There are two different Donald Trumps. There's the one you see on the stage, and there's the one who's very cerebral, sits there and considers things very carefully. You can have a very good conversation with him. And that's the Donald Trump that you're going to start seeing more and more of right now. And some people said, but, well, you know, he said terrible things about you. How can you support him? Well, first of all, we buried the hatchet. That was political stuff. And, you know, that happens in American politics. The politics of personal destruction, all that, is not something that I particularly believe in or anything that I get involved in. But I do recognize that it is a part of the process. We move on because it's not about me. It's not about Mr. Trump. It's about America. And this is what we have to be thinking about. I have found in talking with him that you know, there's a lot more alignment philosophically and spiritually than I ever thought that there was. He will speak to that, but you know, that actually surprised me more than anything, because I do recognize how a person's image can be greatly distorted, having been the victim of that. I probably understand it better than anybody, and I think as the American people who we are focusing on, as they begin to see the real individual there and those who are helping that individual, I think we're going to be comforted as a nation. You know, we have to start working together. We cannot allow the agents of division to continue to separate us. As a nation, our strength is our unity. And we just have to sort of ignore those people who are always trying to stir up strife. And I'm appealing to some degree to the media as well. you know, you're part of America too, and should be interested in strengthening our nation, not in creating divisions, not in creating conflicts all the time. If we start having that American attitude, that American spirit that made us great, that took us to the pinnacle in no time at all, believe me, everybody will benefit from that. We're also talking about how can we make America a place that's successful for everybody. You know, we have 330 million people. We're going to be competing with China with 1.4 billion, India 1.1 billion. We have to develop all of our people. You know, the people who are the downtrodden in our society, we're not doing those people any favor by patting them on the head and saying, there, you poor little thing, I'm going to take care of all your needs. What we need to be doing instead is concentrating on mechanisms to allow those people to climb out of a state of dependency and become part of the strength and fabric of this nation. That's what America is about. It's not about dependency. And it certainly isn't about socialism. You know, socialism is seen as the panacea by some who don't really understand it. I think a lot of young people think socialism is just being concerned about other people. That's not what it is. You know, it's cradle-to-grave government. And you let them take care of you, but you give them all of your money, you give them control of your life. They all end up looking the same way, a small group of elites at the top controlling everything, a rapidly diminishing middle class, and a vastly expanded dependent class. That is not what made America great. Donald Trump talks a lot about making America great, but it's not just talk, he means it. I'm going to be helping him. Others are going to be helping him. You know, one of the things that I've discovered in this country is we have some incredibly smart people. None of us knows everything. But when we begin to use those smart people effectively to accomplish the goals of America, you're going to see us once again begin to ascend to the pinnacle, to a much higher pinnacle than we've ever achieved before, and that's where America should be. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ben. And Ben and I were talking lengthily yesterday, and it was an amazing conversation. One of the things that I realized is his great love is education. And he was telling me things about education, and it was so right on, and it was so good, and it's such an important element for our country. And I said, Ben, congratulations. You just have to get involved with us with education, because our educational system in the United States, as you've heard from my speeches, we're ranked at the bottom of the pack worldwide, and yet we spend the most money per pupil, by far the most money. It's not even close. Second doesn't even exist. So Ben is going to get very much involved in that, and he's going to get very much involved in health care, where he's an expert. And even during the debates, I'd always know Ben, when it came to health care and talking about health, Ben was in really a class by himself. So it's such an honor to have Ben. He's a friend. He's become a friend, and I really appreciate the endorsement, Ben. Thank you. Any questions, folks? Yes.
Mr. Trump.
David first.
Mr. Trump, two questions. First of all, did you guys sort of gently or formally apologize to each other for some of the nasty things you said to each other on the trail?
Yeah, it's politics. Yeah, it is politics. It's tough stuff. It's a tough business. I used to think real estate in Manhattan was tough. This is like, it's a tough business, this politics. A lot of things happen in politics that don't happen anywhere else. Yeah, so we understand that. Go ahead.
Okay, and secondly, sort of the question always comes up in big endorsements. Has there been any discussion between the two of you men, or any promises made about a position for Dr. Carson in your administration,
No.
either as a running mate, as Secretary of Health and Human Services?
And I thought it was lovely, because when Ben called, he didn't say, oh, would you do this, would you do that? He just wants to help. And he feels strongly about what's happening. And you see the kind of crowds we get. We get crowds that are amazing and record-setting. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Well, I mean, it's on the cover of every magazine. There's never been anything like it. So Ben sees that, and Ben's going to have a big, big part. I can tell you, Ben, maybe Ben doesn't even know this yet, but Ben's going to have a big part. We want to keep that kind of talent. We want to keep. Yes.
Mr. Trump, do you see Mr. Carson, Dr. Carson, playing a policy role principally for your campaign, or as a surrogate out on the campaign trail going places you're not going? And when he says there are two Donald Trumps, do you agree with that characterization? And could you amplify on it?
I probably do agree. I think there are two Donald Trumps. There's the public version, and people see that, and I don't know what they see exactly, but it seems to have worked over my lifetime. But it's probably different, I think, than the personal Donald Trump. I think Ben would say that. Ben said it very well today. So perhaps there are two Donald Trumps. But, well, I'm somebody that is a thinker. I'm a big thinker. And I have my ideas, and they're strong, and, typically they've worked out. And what I want to do is, the theme, and Ben alluded to it, the theme that I have for this entire campaign is Make America Great Again. That's what I want to do. Very simple. I want to make America great again. We have so many problems, whether it's military, whether it's trade, whether it's borders, whether it's terrorism. We have so many problems. The debt. You look at our debt, $19 trillion, going up to $21 trillion in a very short fashion. So we're gonna straighten things out, and we're going to straighten them out correctly.
Policy or politics for you?
Dr. Carson's both. Dr. Carson is both, but he's going to be very much on policy. Ben was always very strong on policy, and he's going to be very much on policy.
Mr. Trump.
Yes, go
Thank
ahead.
you, Mr. Trump. You've been talking a lot about unity on the campaign trail and in the debate last night. Can you fill us in on any outreach efforts you're making to Capitol Hill? And then I also wanted to ask you an Islamic State question after that.
Yeah, we have been called by the biggest people in politics, not only Republican politics, but also the biggest people in Republican politics. And over the last couple of weeks, you saw Paul Ryan reached out, and terrific guy. I've always respected him. I've always liked him. And not necessarily agree on everything, because I'm very strong on borders and very strong on security. And I think Paul is, I think he's going to have his views, and I think probably certain things will change. But Paul Ryan reached out, and we had a great conversation, and many other people at the top level. I sort of get a kick. I see you covering one person who's saying Donald Trump must be stopped, and I talked to him 2 days before, and he's saying, Donald, we have to come together. We've been contacted by many of the biggest people in Republican politics.
Congressional lawmakers as well, proactively?
Well, I'm reaching out, but they're really reaching out to us because they see what's happening. We're getting millions and millions of people, additional people that the Republican Party has never had before. It's the biggest story. I said it last night at the debate. It's the biggest story in politics is what's happening. We are having millions and millions of people come up and vote for the Republicans. They get out, they register Republican. I've had so many people tell me, I've never voted Republican in my life. I left the Democrats in order to register as a Republican so I could vote for you. Independents, Democrats, and you see it. We're up 65%, more than that. Millions of people more. And that's what I'm saying. The Republicans now want to embrace it. I mean, I see it. They want to embrace it. Tom?
And I also wanted to ask you about Islamic State quickly. Last night in the debate, you talked about potentially sending up to 30,000 American troops to the Middle East to fight Islamic State.
We have to get rid of ISIS.
That's more troops than George Bush sent to Afghanistan after 9/11.
Let me tell you, we're going to get rid, and they're going to get back real soon. We have to get rid of ISIS. It's going to be up to the generals. We have to get rid of it, but the generals are going to be able to play their own game. I want to find out I have the right general. I want to find out we have the right general, Ben, right? We don't want to have the wrong general talking to us, but we're going to find the right general. We're going to find the right guy or person or woman.
Should the American people be prepared potentially for a long war
No,
under
it's going
a
to be
Trump
very quick.
administration?
It's going to be very quick. We're very powerful. We don't use our power. Yes.
Mr. Trump, 2 questions. First, on the bearing the hatchet deal with you and Dr. Ben Carson, you mentioned politics is rough. Do you personally regret any of the things you said about Dr. Carson?
Well, it's a funny thing. I was thinking about it yesterday, and because I have such respect for Ben. And if you notice, I mean, the CNN poll came out 49-15. How do you like that, Ben? He wouldn't have been happy. But if you notice, during this whole thing, nationally I'm talking about, because ultimately, they say nationalism is important. Well, ultimately, I guess it's probably the most important. So CNN comes out 49 a couple of days ago, 49 for Trump and 15 for the two others. I think we're at 15. The one person that just kept sneaking up on me, I couldn't lose him, was Dr. Ben Carson. I could not lose that guy, and I was doing well. And Trump would be at 28 at that time. And I remember when it was 28, and Ben was 18, and then he was 19, and the next week it was like 22. And I said, whoa, what's this happening here? I don't like this, right? And then he was 24. And then I had a pretty good poll where I took a little lead in one. But then what happened is it was, I believe, NBC, Wall Street Journal, who always gives me bad polls, by the way, I have to tell you. I always have bad polls. Oh, thank you for the nice things you always say about me. You are so nice. Thank you. sitting next to David. Okay? Thank you very much. Always so nice. Now she's going to be bad because she's embarrassed, but I just want to thank you. So Ben would always, like, he'd be there. And then we had one poll where Ben went ahead. It was the biggest story worldwide. I said, this guy is unbelievable. And so I started going after Ben. And it's politics. I mean, Ben understands that. And I was